James, you're a wide receiver, so I want to get the instant reaction from you because this is a huge, huge, huge deal. Turn your volumes up, relax into your chair for this one. What is your reaction to J.J. McCarthy's injuries?
My reaction was it sucks in so many ways, right? It sucks for the head coach because you can't really develop this kid, right? It sucks for Justin Jefferson. This is a kid that, hey, man, we bring in a young quarterback to go with you. We just gave you big dollars. We want to see you guys get some chemistry. Now we have to wait a whole nother year. You know, I started thinking, like, it brought me, like, Anthony Richardson got hurt, right? But at least we got to see him play a couple games.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, get in there, hey, this is what you do well. The young fella's going to be a good player. He got a chance to go against some really good defenses, play some really good football. Yeah. We're not even going to get a chance to see that from JJ, and it sucks because now next year when you step in here, it's like I had one preseason game, so now I'm a rookie all over again. The process starts all over for the Minnesota Vikings and with Justin Jefferson. You wanted this to really get off on the right track so him and Justin Jefferson could really get on the same page. Now you coming into year two, kind of like LaFleur and Jordan Love. You know exactly what you're calling. You back to square one right now. It just hurts for the Minnesota Vikings knowing that you took this dude so high and he ain't going to be able to play.
Very well said. Very well said. Joy, what's your instant reaction? We'll get to what it means momentarily, but what's your reaction to the breaking news?
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's a young player that's coming into the NFL with high hopes. The organization has high hopes. He looked really good in the game. So now the high hopes are starting to materialize. Everyone's getting excited about the possibilities. And no, you never want to have a preseason injury. This is why there's so much conversation about people playing in preseason. What's the value in it? Da-da-da-da.
Aaron might not be tripping, huh?
Okay. Okay. They have preseason for a reason, and obviously this is one of those things that you risk, and it sucks. Like there's no other way to say it. Obviously there will be some conversation of you lost him in the preseason, but he's a rookie. He had to play. Yeah, this is a part of football. It's just a super unfortunate and heartbreaking part of football. And as James just said, now everything has to start over again. It's a reboot next year with him as a rookie. The loss that you take from the development stage as well is hurtful to him. Also, you lose a year of being able to see what he can become, a year of development on the field. Yeah, it sucks. Like there's just it's devastating for him. I will get to what it means for Minnesota in a second, but obviously.
And this is the year like it's done. It ain't no designated to return, nothing. It's a wrap.
Done. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Kevin O'Connell, head coach for the Minnesota Vikings, did confirm it's a wrap. I will be honest. When things happen, it's like, oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I used to think J.J. McCarthy was sorry.
Yeah.
When he got drafted, I was Here's why, to some degree, it changed, Dave.
Yeah.
We talked about this before the show.
Life comes at you fast.
Life comes at you fast, and the game tape comes at you a little bit faster. When I was watching J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, he was very unimpressive at Michigan, but in Minnesota, it looked different. Now, I'm not going to say that he was going to go out there and win Rookie of the Year, not at all, but what I am going to say is J.J. showed me in very minimal playing time, you have the ability to make competent cerebral decisions. You have the ability to challenge Sam Darnold early. You would have challenged him early. You're a top 10 pick, so they wanted you to play. So my instant reaction is not only is this bad for J.J. McCarthy, but after watching how Kevin O'Connell already allowed J.J. McCarthy to develop early on, this is bad for the Minnesota Vikings. Respond to that. Respond to your reaction.
I'm teasing you a little bit because we lived the exact same weekend. And what's funny is that JJ's preseason started as poorly as it could.
With the interception?
Got a little too far out over his skis, tried to make a throw that he could definitely make in college. It got picked off. I saw it, and I was like, this is what we were talking about. He didn't throw a lot in college. He's going to need some time.
Yeah.
Then an hour later, I checked in, and I was like, oh, he's making some big boy throws. He's playing big boy quarterback. And I get it. It's a preseason game. We can't take too much away from that. Everything in the preseason you take with a grain of salt. But it was so much further beyond what I was expecting for his first outing. It didn't look too big for him. He looked comfortable. He looked confident. He was trying things and succeeding at trying things. He looked like an NFL quarterback. And even if it's the preseason, that is a great place to start, as opposed to not knowing what you're looking at, seeing ghosts, being hesitant, having bad footwork. That wasn't the case. So it's a bummer regardless because he's a top 10 pick. But I came into this preseason thinking Sam Darnold's definitely the starter, and we don't even need to think about this. By Saturday night, I was like, maybe he's not. Yeah. And unfortunately, now we just don't know the answer.
What's it mean, Joy, for the Minnesota Vikings? We've talked for now 7 minutes about J.J. McCarthy. Again, the breaking news, J.J. McCarthy, top 10 pick to the Minnesota Vikings. He is officially out for the season. In the common draft era since 1967, we haven't seen a first-round pick at quarterback miss an entire season due to injury. So this isn't just breaking news, it's unprecedented news. Joy, what does it mean, J.J. being done for the season? What's it mean for the Vikings?
I don't think it means anything. Now, I'm saying that because we haven't seen more of J.J. McCarthy in the preseason for them to convince themselves to start him instead of Sam Darnold. And by no means is Sam Darnold a certified starter. I don't even know if he's a bridge guy at this point. But I assumed that Sam Darnold would be the day one starter.
Agreed.
You know, really not depending on how J.J. McCarthy looked. Now, again, maybe J.J. McCarthy's next 2 preseason games don't look like that.
Of course.
And Sam Darnold's a starter. But based on the information that we have at this particular point on this particular day, I was assuming that Sam Darnold would still be the starter. So I don't know how much it changes because he was going to be a rookie playing anyway, even if he did come in for Sam Darnold at some point, if Sam Darnold struggles, which we assume that at some point Sam Darnold will struggle, and then would give them the opportunity. But I think the Vikings are still kind of in the same position they were in last year. I think they'll have a very similar record, which means they will mess up somebody's season, which I've been saying for weeks as we're talking about the NFC North and how good the NFC North is. Obviously, you have the Bears with all that talent, surrounded by a rookie that everyone's very excited about in Caleb Williams. You have the NFC North and in the NFC Championship game, Detroit Lions. You have the ascending Packers who beat up on the Cowboys at home. 3 exciting teams. And the Vikings, we just kind of leave out. But I think that the Vikings are coached pretty well. They have some talent there outside of the quarterback position to work with. And if Sam Darnold can stay a little bit, they're kind of in the same position as they were before. Because even if J.J. McCarthy was going to play this year, what are our expectations for them as far as winning games? It's probably about the same, 7 or 8 wins. I think it's somewhere between 6 to 8, which obviously is kind of a big swing in the NFL, but it's enough that I think that they will steal a division game from someone and mess up their playoff positioning or hopes altogether. So I don't know how much it really means for the Vikings.
You used the word hopes, James Jones, and to me, what it means most is the Vikings don't have hope. You talk to people in life, you talk to people in football, exactly right. Hope really can keep you carrying on. If you're sick, as long as you got some hope. If you're broke, as long as you got some hope. If your team is struggling, as long as you got hope. To me, the Vikings don't have hope any longer. Sam Darnold is probably a bottom 4 quarterback going into the season when you factor in the lack of hope. Maybe Drake May will be worse, but he's a rookie. Hope. Maybe Jaden Daniels will be worse, but he's a rookie. Hope. I put Sam Darnold in the category of probably Aiden O'Connell. I put him in the category of Will Levis. These are quarterbacks that don't give you a ton of hope, but strays aren't necessarily proven to be good. Again,
strays everywhere.
Levis catching strays left and right.
I really think,
I mean, Sam has quite a bit of resume.
Put your guns up. Pow, pow, pow. He ain't
I mean, when you really start, I was thinking about it before the show. I mean, Darnold's 10-20 in his last 4 years. He's 21-35 over his whole NFL career. So I just don't have hope as a Vikings fan. It's hard if you are Justin Jefferson and you're making $35 million a year, and now you got to go out this season knowing Sam Darnold's your quarterback in a division with Jordan Love, Jared Goff, who's been to a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game, 2 different teams, and Caleb Williams, one of the most talented quarterbacks ever coming out of college. To me, James, there's just a lack of hope. So for the Vikings, it's just a hopeless season at this junction in time.
Yeah, you sure have. What was you shooting right there? You know what I'm saying?
He was giving that Olympic.
4.5 in his hand. Yeah, that in there. Gosh, leash.
I don't need no equipment.
No, it sucks just because you put yourself back a year.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing that really stands out to me is because if Jordan Love didn't pan out, the Packers would have set themselves back a year. You understand what I'm saying? So now with J.J. McCarthy, we all know that Sam Darnold is not the future. Sure. Sam Darnold is not the franchise quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So you wanted to get your young quarterback out here so when you're coming into next season, you can say, you know what? We got our franchise guy. We're a step ahead of the game. We are ready to roll. We're going to put the right pieces around him, and let's go play some football and try to compete in this division. Well, that's now set back a year. And then it could be set back another year because he's going to have to go through his ups and downs, his growing pains, because he's a rookie again. You know what I'm saying? With not a lot of football. So that's the only thing that sucks for the Minnesota Vikings, because you draft a quarterback, you want to develop him his rookie year, then you want to come into that next year and say, hey, man, we're going to hit the ground rolling. We got the pieces around you. You know the playbook. Let's go. Let's try to go compete for this division. And to me, that's all set back a year now, another year, because I didn't think they were going to compete in the NFC North this year anyway with JJ. Now, with this being back a year, now this sets you back at least 2 years.
James, take me quickly into the mind of a receiver, because obviously we have the fortune of having you on our show. So answer this question with most other shows won't be able to get answered. 2013, you're playing for the Packers, I believe. You're in Green Bay in 2013, correct?
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers gets hurt after week 8. So y'all had to roll out Scott Tolzien, Seneca Wallace. Exactly. We played y'all. I was in Philadelphia that year. Take me into the mind of a receiver when you're going out onto the field and you're going out on there with a Seneca Wallace. Again, Seneca played, I think, 10 or so years in the NFL, so he's a solid NFL player. He's not Aaron Rodgers. Scott Tolzien played several years in the NFL, not Aaron Rodgers. Take me into the mindset of Justin Jefferson right now, of Jordan Addison, of Hawkinson, I believe, of these different players who are now going out onto the field knowing they don't have a guy.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, we lost Aaron Rodgers, who was the best guy at that time in the National Football League, right? Could make all the throws. To be honest with you, it was different for me because Aaron Rodgers was in a whole nother planet at that time of playing the game of football. So it was different for us. We went from Aaron Rodgers to a Sam Darnold. These dudes don't even really know what it's like to play with an elite quarterback like that. Justin Jefferson been getting busy with the Seneca Wallaces and the Scott Tolziens and whoever you throw out there, the Nick Mullins. Like, he been getting busy with these dudes, and it don't even matter who goes out there. Justin Jefferson is going to give you 1,000+ yards every single year. You know what I'm saying? So for them, it's really not a big change because the elite quarterback we had was Kirk Cousins. You know what I'm saying? And Kirk Cousins has been hurt in his career, so I have already been out there with a bunch of different quarterbacks, you know what I mean? And not elite quarterbacks, right? When I was in training camp with the Giants before I went back to the Packers with Eli Manning. And I'm in training camp talking to Odell Beckham, like, he got to let that go, man. And like, he ain't 12, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, y'all don't even know, like, what it's supposed to look like. Justin Jefferson don't even know what it's supposed to look like with an elite dude. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a little different situation because he's been out there with a bunch of
so much has been explained to that story.
Yeah, you know, James. I knew, huh?
Dave, take me to the macro. We focused in on the micro of Justin Jefferson, the micro of J.J. McCarthy, the micro of the Vikings. Let's go macro. NFC North, Packers, Lions, Bears. I believe all of those teams competitive could win the division. The Lions or the Packers are obviously the favorite. Maybe the Lions, they just went to the NFC Championship game. How does this injury impact the NFC North? And you know so much about the NFL. I'll also ask you the NFC at large.
I think it doesn't affect it much, but because, like, Joy made an excellent point, this is already a pretty good Vikings team. And I got news for you if you think the Vikings are just going to fall off because they're starting a 6-year veteran NFL quarterback in Sam Darnold, which, I mean, I'll stand on my soapbox for Sam Darnold. Like, I'm not saying he's amazing, but Sam Darnold with 2 solid tackles. Vikings just paid Christian Darrisaw. Aaron Jones, talked to him on the show last week. He's excited for the season. JJ's there. Hopefully this training camp injury to Jordan Addison isn't a bad one, and he's not going to miss a ton of time. TJ Hawkinson is there. The Vikings have the talent that Sam Darnold can be relatively successful at least. He had some good stretches in Carolina. He can at least be a serviceable quarterback. And you know why I know that? Because the Vikings were competitive with Josh Dobbs not knowing the playbook last year. They were starting a rookie in Jaron Hall. After the Kirk injury, they were bouncing back and forth from quarterback to quarterback every single week. And they weren't just competitive, they won games. So no, the Vikings aren't.
There's a little bit of a myth there. Remember,
part?
First impression, lasting impression. Dobbs went out there and won a game, I think, with no preparation. But he also ended up losing, I believe, 4 consecutive. So they're like, all right, Dobbs, you got to go to the bench.
It's not a myth to say that the Minnesota Vikings lost Kirk Cousins. I want to say it was before Halloween. It was in October-ish. If you've got it there, you can look it up. They were in the hunt for a playoff spot until January. Like, they were there. And, yeah, it's not going to look pretty when you lose a franchise quarterback like Kirk Cousins. But I think Kevin O'Connell is a hell of a coach, and I think the Minnesota Vikings have enough talent. They're not going to win the division. I wouldn't bet on them to make the playoffs, but they are, to Joy's point, going to beat somebody better than them and have them shaking their head like, oh my God, we lost to Sam Darnold. We lost to the Vikings, and now we might miss the playoffs. That is going to happen this year.
Do y'all believe that they become, and I don't want to say this flippantly, I genuinely say with sincerity, will they become almost a laughingstock team? Because I think that last year, I agree with Dave early on. But remember, they ended up losing, I think, 6 consecutive games after we finally got tape on Josh Dobbs and the whole aerospace engineer thing.
Were those games easy wins for those teams, though? They weren't.
No. But again, they lost to you're right, Lions, Packers, Lions, Bengals, how they ended up losing the season. They lost 6 of their last 7. Broncos, Bears included.
The magic ran out a
you
little
don't think they'll become a laughingstock of a team, if you will?
I feel for J.J. McCarthy, and I understand that, it sucks for the Vikings to lose your rookie quarterback that you were excited about, and it sucks that they're not going to get to develop him, and it probably does set them back 2 years. But I feel exactly the same about the Vikings today, before this news and after this news, because I thought Sam Darnold was going to start. And even if J.J. McCarthy did end up playing games, that doesn't mean that they're going to win. You're just watching him develop. And the tiny itty-bitty little, sample size that we got could mean a lot. Or it could mean absolutely nothing. We do have to take it with a grain of salt. Like, it's the hope. The delusion of hope. We love to be delulu about hope. It's delicious.
But
we get it. But we do know what Sam Darnold is.
That's the dilemma. And it's not good.
But I'm saying, I knew that Sam Darnold wasn't good before this happened.
But at least
I assumed he was going to play a lot of football for the Vikings. And I've been beating this drum for months about how the Vikings, we are just completely ignoring them. The Vikings are not the Patriots, right? Like, when we talk about the AFC East, we don't even mention the Patriots, who, by the way, are also going to steal a division game. Maybe not mess something up, but they might mess up something for that division. Divisional games are tough. The Vikings are not that. We don't talk about them because they don't have a lot of interesting stuff going on until this J.J. McCarthy preseason game. Now, obviously, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, they have great pieces there, but we did not think that they were going to be competing to win the division before this happened, or after that preseason game.
Since it's happened, since the loss of J.J. McCarthy, I'm now saying to myself, Sam Darnold is not about to lead this team to anything of significance, only because he hasn't yet. It's not that I don't believe in his talent.
Significance is not what I'm campaigning for. I'm saying that if they win 7 games, right? If they win 6, 7, 8 games, I understand that's a big swing. Let's say they win 7 games, right? They repeat what they did last year. And they beat the Packers and they beat the Bears. And then that comes down to, it's not about what they're doing in their season. It's what they're going to do to someone else's season.
But here's my thought process is, they won 7 games last year. Kirk Cousins won 4 of the 7.
Yeah.
The 3 teams that non-Kirk Cousins quarterbacks beat were the Las Vegas Raiders, were the New Orleans Saints, and were the Atlanta Falcons. Those are the 3 teams that non-Kirk Cousins, not good teams at all.
Yeah.
So James, I don't suggest it Sam Darnold. Based on what I've seen, 21 and 35 as a starter, I don't suggest that Sam Darnold's going to do that. The Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins, they beat some teams.
Did you think J.J. McCarthy was going to do that?
I honestly didn't.
But we didn't care, though, because he was a rookie.
Hope. To your point, delusion.
James made the best point of all, I think, which is that they're just a year behind now. Because let's say the Vikings finish with a losing record, but J.J. McCarthy is very encouraging.
Right.
Now you go into the offseason, you're like, we got the guy. We're going to draft weapons around him. We're going to spend money in free agency to make this team better. And in year 2, J.J. can do that. Instead, you go into the offseason and you're like, man, I hope we have a quarterback.
Yeah, but from that perspective, of course, that makes sense. But how is that any different than before he played 1 preseason game?
Because now you're just not going to know if he's.
Yeah, you're not going to know. But I'm saying, as far as what their season was going to be, wins, losses, relevance,
it would just it would be the vibes.
What has really
feel? It would be the feel.
Okay, I mean, I love vibes too, but there's not a win-loss vibes column. What did you think that they were going to win more games this year than you do now? I don't. I think they're.
But I still don't think they'll be the laughingstock, though. And the main reason why I say that is because they well coached.
Yeah.
Do I think they will lose a lot of games and not be a playoff team? Sure. But they have really good players. They are really, really well coached. So they will lose, but like my man, like Dave said, those games they lost, they was close. 4th quarter coming down, you know what I mean? So I think they will compete in a lot of games, and usually when you're the laughingstock in the division or the NFL, it's how it looks. Oh, here you go. Look at him throw that ball. Here, look at the defense. They in the wrong call. I don't think that will be the case. I think they will compete in a lot of football games. It just sucks because now you got to wait one more year to see if this is your franchise quarterback.
And that's a long time, bro.
It is a long time because if he comes out a rookie year and he struggles and he doesn't look well, now you're going into the next season like, is he our guy? So the setback hurts for the Minnesota Vikings.
No doubt about it.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.